We spent the 14th of May recovering from our trip from the Scillies. Nayland was pretty enough, but there was not enough of interest to justify staying any longer. So on the 15th we slipped at 6:20. The forecast was northwest 3 to 4, backing west or southwest. Our destination rather depended on the timing of the wind backing. If it stayed in the northwest for long, Ireland would be a dead beat, and we would have to settle for Holyhead. If it backed in time, then we would make for the southern end of the Irish banks and make our way inshore of them, either to Arklow or Dunleary. If we backed later, but not too late, we'd make our way offshore of the banks direct to Dunleary. Having motored out, we were abeam St Anne's Head by 8:10. We beat out between Skolcombe and Skomer, but could not even lay Ramsey Island on port tack. Gradually the wind backed and lifted us enough to clear Bishop's Rock. By 12:30 it had backed far enough to enable us to lay the south end of the banks. As we approached the banks, the wind backed so far that we were on a broad reach, making 8 knots through the water, which was just as well, as we had 3 knots of tide against us. We slowed as we ran off before the wind inside the banks, which with the plotter not working, marked with waypoints. We arrived off Arklow at 7:30 as the tide began to turn, and we decided to keep going. Soon, with only 6 knots boat speed, we had over 9 knots of ground speed. There were ominous black clouds forming over the Wicklow Mountains, but the wind fell even lighter, and at 10:30 we dropped the sails. At 12:30 the wind suddenly sprang up again between 25 and 30 knots, but we were almost in Dublin Bay and just kept motoring. We finally berthed in Dunleary at 1:30, having logged 122 miles at an average speed of 6.4 knots. The marina was huge, and the visitors' berths are at the outer end. The central pontoon is 1 kilometre long, so they moor an ablutions barge towards one end. Dunleary is a big place, but hopeless for food shopping, and the price of everything is horrendous. A friend of Matthew's took us for breakfast in the Royal Irish Yacht Club, and he gave us a lift in his car to top up both jerry cans with diesel. On the 17th we caught the Dart Railway into Dublin. Being a Monday, most of the museums were closed, but we found enough to keep us occupied for the day. We had thought of stopping at Carlingford Lock, but the marina is on the southern Irish shore, and we'd had enough of Irish prices, so on the 18th we set off for Ardglass. We slipped at 8:10 and motored slowly across Dublin Bay in light winds. By the time we got to Rockabill, there was 25 knots from the southeast, and we had a glorious sail, surfing it up to 12 knots. We arrived at 4:30, having logged 63 miles at an average speed of 7.6 knots. Ardglass might be a bit exposed to the south and east, but it's the only all-tide, all-weather harbour between Howth and Bangor.
Get your pirate costume ready. Did you get me a shirt? Oh yeah, no, you got.
When we got in, there were a couple of seals playing in their own private pool, but it soon dried out. The marina is a small setup with decent washing facilities. It also has the meeting room for the local group of AA. The town boasts no less than 7 castles, of which this is the biggest. The small building is a Victorian bathing hut, dating back to when people used the beach for paddling. Apparently the town was once a popular seaside resort. On the 19th, after doing our washing, we went for a walk, taking in the local religious relics.